that is $1.90 a day. Pretty low, you know, but you have to start somewhere. We hit that at 2012, 3 years ahead of schedule. And you might be cynical about that and say, well, it's kind of an arbitrary number, but the curves are exactly the same at $3.80 a day and $7.60 a day. Not as many people have hit that, but the rate of increase towards that is the same. The bloody UN thinks that we'll be out of poverty defined by $1.90 a day by the year 2030. It's unparalleled. And so the rich may be getting richer, but the poor are getting richer too. And that's not the, look, I'll leave it at that because I'm out of time. But I'll leave it with this. The poor are not getting poorer under capitalism. The poor are getting richer under capitalism by a large margin. And I'll leave you with one statistic, which is that now in Africa, the child mortality rate in Africa now is the same as the child mortality rate was in Europe in 1952. And so that's happened within the span of one lifetime. And so if you're for the poor, if you're actually concerned that the poorest people in the world rise above their starvation levels, then all the evidence suggests that the best way to do that is to implement something approximating a free market economy. And so, thank you very much.
I have a chair, I can sit there. It has helped me a lot, okay.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. Dr. Zizek.
Thank you. Okay. First, a brief introductory remark. I cannot but notice the irony of how Peterson and I, the participants in this duel of the century, are both marginalized by the official academic community. I'm supposed to defend here the left liberal line against neoconservatives. Really? Most of the attacks on me are now precisely from left liberals. Just remember the outcry against my critique of LGBT plus ideology. And I'm sure that if the leading figures in this field were to be asked if I am fit to stand for them, they would turn in their graves even if they are still alive. So let me begin by bringing together the three notions from the title: happiness, communism, capitalism. In one exemplary case, China today. China in the last decades is arguably the greatest economic success story in human history. Hundreds of millions raised from poverty into middle-class existence. How did China achieve it? The 20th century left was defined by its opposition to the two fundamental tendencies of modernity: the reign of capital with its aggressive market competition, the authoritarian bureaucratic state power. Today's China combines these two features in its extreme form: strong authoritarian state, wild capitalist dynamics. And it's important to note, they do it on behalf of happiness of the majority of people. They don't mention communism to legitimize their rule. They prefer the old Confucian notion of a harmonious society. But are the Chinese any happier for all that? Although even the Dalai Lama justifies Tibetan Buddhism in Western terms of the pursuit of happiness and the avoidance of pain, happiness as a goal of our life is a very problematic notion. If we learned anything from psychoanalysis, it is that we humans are very creative in sabotaging our pursuit of happiness. Happiness is a confused notion. Basically, it relies on the subject's inability or unreadiness to fully confront the consequences of their desire. In our daily lives, we pretend to desire things which we do not really desire, so that ultimately the worst thing that can happen is for us to get what we officially desire. So I agree that human life of freedom and dignity does not consist just in searching for happiness, no matter how much we spiritualize it, or in the effort to actualize our inner potentials. We have to find some meaningful cause beyond the mere struggle for pleasurable survival. However, I would like to add here a couple of qualifications. First, since we live in a modern era, we cannot simply refer to an unquestionable authority to confer a mission or task on us. Modernity means that, yes, we should carry the burden. But the main burden is freedom itself. We are responsible for our burdens. Not only are we not allowed cheap excuses for not doing our duty, duty itself should not serve as an excuse. We are never just instruments of some higher cause. Once traditional authority loses its substantial power, it is not possible to return to it. All such returns are today a postmodern fake. Does Donald Trump stand for traditional values? No, his conservatism is a postmodern performance, a gigantic ego trip. In this sense of playing with traditional values, of mixing references to them with open obscenities, Trump is the ultimate postmodern president. If we compare Trump with Bernie Sanders, Trump is a postmodern politician at its purest, while Sanders is rather an old-fashioned moralist. Conservative thinkers claim that the origin of our crisis is the loss of our reliance on some transcendent divinity or higher value. If we are left to ourselves, if everything is historically conditioned and relative, then there is nothing preventing us to indulge in our lowest tendencies. But is this really the lesson to be learned from mob killing, looting, and burning on behalf of religion? It is often claimed that, true or not, religion makes some otherwise bad people do good things. From today's experience, I think we should rather stick to Steve Weinberg's claim that while without religion, good people would have been doing good things and bad people bad things, only something like religion can make good people do bad things. More than a century ago, in his Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky warned against the dangers of godless moral nihilism. If God doesn't exist, then everything is permitted. The French philosopher André Glucksmann applied Dostoevsky's critique of godless nihilism to September 11th. And the title of his book, Dostoevsky in Manhattan, suggests, as this title suggests, he couldn't have been more wrong. The lesson of today's terrorism is that if there is a God, then everything, even blowing up hundreds of innocent bystanders, is permitted to those who claim to act directly on behalf of God. The same goes also for godless Stalinist communists. They are the ultimate proof of it. Everything was permitted to them since they perceived themselves as direct instrument of their divinity, of the historical necessity of progress towards communism. That's the big problem of ideologies. How to make good, decent people do horrible things. Second, yes, we should carry our burden, accept the suffering that goes with it. But a danger lurks here, that of a subtle reversal. Don't fall in love, that's my position, with your suffering. Never presume that your suffering is in itself a proof of your authenticity. Renunciation of pleasure can easily turn into pleasure of renunciation itself. For example, an example not from neoconservatives. White left liberals love to denigrate their own culture and blame Eurocentrism for our evils. But it is instantly clear how this self-denigration brings a profit of its own. Through this renouncing of their particular roots, multicultural liberals reserve for themselves the universal position, graciously soliciting others to assert their particular identity. White multiculturalist liberals embody the lie of identity politics. Next point. Jacques Lacan wrote something paradoxical but deeply true, that even if what a jealous husband claims about his wife, that she sleeps with other men, is all true, his jealousy is nonetheless pathological. The pathological element is the husband's need for jealousy as the only way for him to sustain his identity. Along the same lines, one could say that even if most of the Nazi claims about Jews, they exploit Germans, they seduce German girls, and so on, were true, which they were not, of course, their anti-Semitism would still be a pathological phenomenon, because it ignored the true reason why the Nazis needed anti-Semitism. In the Nazi vision, their society is an organic whole of harmonious collaboration, so an external intruder is needed to account for divisions and antagonisms. The same holds for how today, in Europe at least, the anti-immigrant populists deal with the refugees. The cause of problems which are, I claim, immanent to today's global capitalism is projected onto an external intruder. Again, even if the reported incident with the refugees, there are great problems, I admit it. Even all these reports are true. The populist story about them is a lie. With anti-Semitism, we are approaching the topic of telling stories. Hitler was one of the greatest storytellers of the 20th century. In the 1920s, many Germans experienced their situation as a confused mess. They didn't understand what is happening to them with military defeat, economic crisis, what they perceived as moral decay, and so on. Hitler provided a story, a plot, which was precisely that of a Jewish plot. We are in this mess because of the Jews. That's what I would like to insist on. We are telling ourselves stories about ourselves in order to acquire a meaningful experience of our lives. However, this is not enough. One of the most stupid wisdoms, and they are mostly stupid, is an enemy is someone whose story you have not heard. Really? Are you also ready to affirm that Hitler was our enemy because his story was not heard? The experience that we have of our lives from within, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves in order to account for what we are doing is, and this is what I call ideology, fundamentally a lie. The truth lies outside in what we do. In a similar way, the alt-right obsession with cultural Marxism expresses the rejection to confront the fact that the phenomena they criticize as the effect of the cultural Marxist plot, moral degradation, sexual promiscuity, consumerist hedonism, and so on, are the outcome of the immanent dynamic of capitalism.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for those who showed up. First of all, Scott, you son of a bitch, thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. And of course, Ima, I got your donation as well. You don't have to donate to me, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Of course, everyone, welcome to tonight's stream. Bob, I see you in the chat. Of course, you're also the best. And I hope everyone had a good night and has a good day going. So I thought tonight we'll just do something chill. Watch some videos. Maybe I'll play some video games. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Play some video games and maybe just talk about like some random culture war bullshit on the internet. Funny news, though, for those who have been watching or those who even care about what my channel is doing, I recently got a strike from YouTube for a video that I posted over the weekend. And now I'm doing a little bit of an experiment. So the video that I posted over the weekend was a video where in my previous live stream on Tuesday, I said I outlined like specific tenets of what it would make someone anti-Semitic. Like, oh, how could you tell that someone is anti-Semitic, right? And the points that are outlined are, I think, very clear points, right? It's like, do you chant and attack Jewish students because you have issues with Israel? That's pretty much anti-Semitic. And then on top of that, right, if you justify the attacks of Hamas and you think that like Jews deserved it, and you chant for the removal of Jews from the land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then you're probably, you're okay with the genocide of Jews. You want to see every Jew kicked out from the land of Israel. And my video got flagged for hate speech. So my brother was over when this happened. I was like, what's going on? My video got marked for hate speech. So of course, as it goes along, you're like, okay, what did they say? What's going on? And it looks like YouTube didn't have any reasoning except you violated our terms and condition. And now I've learned that YouTube does something very simple. You can appeal it, but you can't say why you're appealing it. You have no say. You simply click a button called appeal. And after the appeal, they're going to have an actual person view the video. And an actual person viewed the video and concluded that indeed the video was hate speech. So I'm ranting and raving about how much bullshit this is. And my brother tells me, well, why don't you, I said something along the lines of, what if I said this about black people? I'm sure they would never ban my video. They will never say that it's hate speech. So I did. I made an exact video where I just replaced the rhetoric from about Jews, but about black people. So I want to play that because I think the comments are hysterical, and they highlight something really interesting. So here, let me pull that up. I think that'd be funny to go over before we start all the other shenanigans. How do I go to my YouTube channel? There it is. Okay, let me pull that up. Here it is. Okay, so this is the video that I remade about, black people instead. Right? So this is the experiment, right? Is this going to get flagged for hate speech? So far it has not, but it is exactly the same. It's verbatim the same, right? So we'll go over it. So I said, arguing that 13% of the population commits 50% of the crime as a way to point the finger at black people, you are racist. So that part, that line was an analogy for if you point the finger, if you chant at Jews because you're anti-Israel, you're anti-Semitic, right? That was the beginning, right? Because if you point the finger at Jewish people because of issues with the state of Israel, that's anti-Semitic, in the same way that if I point the finger at Muslim people if I have an issue with what Iran is doing, or I point the finger at Christian people when I have an issue with what America is doing, right? It would be something similar to that. And if you advocate for white nationalism and say that the murder of Trayvon Martin was justified, and on top of that, right? So what's the analogy with like Jewish things? It would be, I think it was, what was it exactly? I always forget. I have the video up here. I'm just gonna click it because I don't want to get this wrong. What was it exactly? If you advocate for intifada and say that what Hamas did was justified, and on top of that chant from the river Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, then you're advocating for genocide. That's what I fully said. But in this video, chant white lives matter, you will not replace us, you are advocating for genocide. No question in my mind that if you could have it your way. So the original video that I had, with instead of it being about race, it was about anti-Semitism, was flagged for hate speech. And this is an interesting double stand. I wonder what about YouTube's rules and regulations can even do this. So another brilliant idea that my brother had was, why don't you also do it pro-Palestine? Why don't you do a video where it's pro-Palestine instead, right? Where you say, if you point the finger at Palestinians because of the actions of Iran, you're whatever, Islamophobic, or you point your finger at Muslims instead of Iran because Iran doesn't mean you're Islamophobic, right? Do it the other way and see how that goes. And then I'm going to compile a video of all the time there have been horrific anti-Semitic shit said on YouTube without it being banned, because I'm actually really annoyed about that. Because that's something I had to just rant about. Wait till they see rabbis against Zionism. I don't know how they deal with that, Scott, but usually it's like crazy rabbis who kind of don't want Israel to exist. That's a whole other point. Because anti-Zionism, yeah. Plan commencing, exactly. Plan commencing. So, let me go ahead and there is this YouTube channel that I've been watching. I think everyone should kind of watch it. Called Warstream. And I've been really enjoying its content and the way it covers at least what's happening on the day-to-day ground in Gaza, and as the war is developing. So let me go ahead and find that video, because I kind of just want to watch it. So let's go ahead and watch that. Plan commencing, indeed. What is going on with the YouTubes being slow tonight? We're supposed to have more RAM, but now it's deciding that it doesn't want to do the RAM thing. So there it is. Yeah, so this is a great channel. This is Warstream, and they're pretty fucking dope, honestly. I think that it covers what's going on pretty well, and it's definitely worth taking a look and following yourself. Has a map, an overview, shows information, where the advancements are, and so far I've really enjoyed the coverage. So let's just go ahead and watch it. So how many times are we going to say so?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Warstream. On today's episode, we're going to go over major movements by the IDF in the central Jabalia area, as well as a major push and move from the IDF near the Bet Hanun area. And we're also going to have combat footage from Jabalia as well as Bet Hanun in the episode. And we're going to go over the IDF movements in the south parts of Gaza Strip, including a push they did near Nuseirat over here, and just south of that near Khan Yunis, the new extended ground that they've taken in this area, as well as the...
So for those who don't know, so one of like the strategies that the IDF has been employing is that, like, if you think of the Gaza Strip as just a strip, they have kind of just been going from the west side to the east side, from the east side to the west side, and connecting the whole strip and kind of like dividing the areas, stopping the ability of like transporting goods or arms or whatever it might be into fighters, right? Basic encirclement strategies. So we'll see that on the maps, like right here on this map, you can clearly see it, right? How they cut across the Saldin highway and kind of take control of it.
Details on this push going towards Khan Yunis. And we're also going to have more combat footage for you guys released by the IDF today, specifically from Khan Yunis as well. Before we begin, please consider hitting that like.
Yes.
It goes a long
Subscribe
way
and
with
like. This is a
helping
good
our
channel.
channel. The IDF is continuing to operate against Hamas terrorist infrastructure and operatives in the Gaza Strip. Terrorist cells were eliminated and weapons located, including explosive devices inside a medical clinic in Shajaya. Over the past day, IDF troops conducted targeted raids on terror targets in Khan Yunis, during which IDF troops identified a terrorist who launched anti-tank RPG missiles at them. The troops responded with fire and killed that terrorist. The troops also located a weapon storage facility containing explosive devices.
I mean, watching this videos always just reminds me of how brutal like this type of warfare is. I don't know if some of you might not know, but a few days ago, the IDF actually shot 3 hostages. 3 hostages that ran out like of buildings or whatever, and in those cramped, narrow areas, they ended up shooting 3 hostages who were kidnapped by Hamas, who were Israelis, which is like a horrific thing to happen, right? Like, we look at these rundown buildings, like what Hamas has been doing. They have been laying like traps, and the way they've been laying traps, they're putting speakers with the sounds of kids crying or people talking, whether it be, and they put bombs, and 3 Israelis, Scott, and they put bombs and booby traps where these crying dolls are to kind of trick the IDF. So when you're in that environment, can you just imagine how difficult it might be to it's just horrific. I can't even imagine how it'd be like. Of course, there's casualties. Like, there's no question that let's put it this way, a lot of people blame Israel and say, oh, how could they possibly shoot the hostages? Well, in that situation, even if you're a trained soldier, you're in combat all day, all of a sudden you see 3 people running at you, you don't know what's happening. They could have bombs strapped on them. They could be distractions. You just don't know, and you just end up pulling the trigger. I mean, anyone who's in war can probably resonate with that.
Weapons, grenades, and military vests. Moreover, IDF troops identified an explosive device planted in a medical clinic in Shujaiya near a school. IDF troops who operated in Shujaiya also located numerous weapons, including AK-47s, vests, and cartridges. Furthermore, the IDF troops destroyed a tunnel shaft near the coastline in the southern Gaza Strip. Following the explosion of the shaft, the troops identified a large number of terrorists fleeing the area and entering a compound on the coast. This is footage released by the IDF today of their Shal Dag unit operating in the Hamas terror tunnels in Gaza City. Over 1,500 tunnel shafts and underground passages have been uncovered since the beginning of the war. After locating hundreds of tunnels and destroying them, many of them using various techniques, the Shal Dag Special Forces unit are conducting operational activities within the Hamas organization subterranean tunnel network. Led by the Southern Command, the combat in underground tunnels is a complex form of warfare involving the discovery of combat facilities and terror.
Can you imagine having to go down there as a soldier? Holy shit. I mean, I would not do it. I'd be like, fuck that. I'm not trying to die right now for some crazy booby trap and lose my legs. Absolutely not.
Command centers. Underground warfare is a combat strategy used by the Hamas terrorist organization. Since the beginning of the ground operation in the Gaza Strip, IDF troops have identified about 1,500 tunnel shafts and passages belonging to Hamas. Most of these subterranean structures have been found beneath schools, hospitals, mosques, UN facilities, and civilian institutions. This is more footage released by the IDF today of their operations near Jabalia and inside Jabalia. You can see how close their infantry is working with their tanks, and you can also see the environment that they're working in. That urban, dense environment. They need these bulldozers. They need all sorts of equipment to clear these areas, as well as some munitions left by the militants fighting the IDF in that area. Then you can see some more.
So these little things, I think these are like booby traps, bombs, tank mines, something like that. I'm not sure what they are, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Corporal Upham. What's that? I don't even know what that is.
More stuff that's been found by the troops that are operating, as well as mortars and munitions and batteries and so forth. Again, this is just
Scott, the Viet Cong tunnels. Or I just saw a tweet about it today. Viet Cong. Let me pull it up just so people know. Those were even crazier. I think they had like these soldiers, like they found like the smallest soldiers you could imagine. Yeah. Look at this image. This is the type of stuff they would be crawling in during Vietnam. So like you would have to go down there as like a soldier, not knowing what the tunnel looks like, and like poke booby traps with your hands and like feet to hopefully try to disengage them. That is, I can't. That's just so scary. That's just so scary. With little shafts, tunnel networks underneath. Wow. And then they also have like spike booby trap inside the tunnels as well, from what I know. Okay. I see. Yeah, I can't imagine dying in combat. I don't want to die in combat. Let's just make that really, really clear. Yeah, whatever. These tunnels are terrifying. Yeah, drop hits where it just like, and just spikes underneath, and now you're stuck. You're gonna die in a tunnel. Now you're dying in a tunnel. No one's coming to get you. You're dead in that tunnel. Good luck.
Released today, and this is from their operations in the past 24 to 48 hours in Jabalia. This is the northeastern sector of Gaza Strip. This is footage released by the IDF today of them using a weapon that is known as Spike. So this is basically a next generation javelin that could target all sorts of different vehicles, infantry positions, and so on. Following the alerts concerning a hostile aerial infiltration into northern Israel, the IDF Aerial Defense Array successfully intercepted a suspicious aerial target that crossed from Lebanon towards Israeli territory. And then a short while ago, IDF fighter jets struck Hezbollah targets. If you find our
So this is just something to remember. Like, this war is not close to finishing, right? If Hamas and the Houthi rebels, after, like, let's say the situation in Gaza dies down, it's not just going to end there. There might be more violence from the north. There might be violence from other areas. There might be uprising in the West Bank. Like, this conflict is just going to keep raging on. And I guess I just want to make this clear before we go back to the video. Everyone always talks about ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. Why don't you advocate for a ceasefire? Because advocating for a ceasefire is just going to take us back to the status quo on October 6th. It's going to take us back to the status quo of how things already have been, right? The status quo is not going to deal with the issue. It's going to keep Hamas in power. It's going to keep the status quo, which has resulted in this to begin with. If we're going to need solutions, we're going to have to change up what's happening. And, I always say, like, I'm not a military expert. I don't know what the best way to go about eliminating Hamas is, but there are military experts. There are politicians who deal with this. So I tend to just push it off onto them. But what I definitely do know, and I think most people need to remember, is that calling for a ceasefire is calling to maintain the status quo. That is that's a fact. If we do what we have done before, we're going to get the same solutions. And we have been doing ceasefires here over and over and over again. So I'm looking for different options.
episodes informative and you would like to support our channel, please consider hitting that like and subscribe buttons. They're a free way to show some love towards our channel and help spread the word with what's going on in Gaza Strip and in Israel. Thank you so much. Now let's continue. All right, let's begin with Gaza Strip. Today they're having...
So remember what I said, how they're like dividing the strip into little parts, right? They're dividing it over here. They're dividing it over here. In the south, they divided it even more, right? So they're basically cutting off the ability to transport arms on top of the surface and kind of forcing them to use underground tunnels, which then lets you, figure out where those tunnels are. And there's, so...
been quite big movements in the south parts of Gaza Strip as well as the north parts of Gaza Strip, but we will begin with the north part as that's where most of the action has been concentrated. So in the past several days, the IDF operating...
Yeah, so if you haven't kept up with the conflict, so this area where the darker blue lines are, that has been stagnated like this for almost 2 weeks, right? So this is like a super densely urban environment, and the way from how the IDF has been dealing with this, they have kind of been probing, right? So they send a few tanks, get an ambush, back up, airstrike, send a few tanks, and they kind of probing to see where the enemy is, what they're doing. And this amount of grabbing land yesterday, this looked entirely different. So the fact it looks like this today is just crazy. Like all of this light shaded and stuff, they capture that all today, which is in the amount of movement and operation to have this go on is just absurd.
Inside Gaza Strip has finally been able to secure and maintain a bunch of ground. Bet Hanun has been completely cleared. We've gotten that confirmation in the past 24 hours. This is an area that IDF has been operating in quite actively for the past several weeks. Now we do know, fully confirmed, the IDF didn't just take Bet Hanun, but they also kept on pushing Salah al-Din Road. This battle has been extremely fluid in the past 72 hours, in the past 48 hours, and we do have footage that's been geolocated confirming Israel is already operating as deep as here, just in the central parts of Jabalia. So
Mindfulness asked a good question. How many Hamas do they need to get? Is there an exit criteria? So from what I know and like what I've heard, the criteria is rescue the hostages, destroy, eradicate Hamas, like limit Hamas. I don't know exactly what those military objectives look like. That's something we should definitely look up after this video is done. That'd be good to do. not poison, just irritant. Maybe it's not possible, mindfulness. Maybe they just can't do that. Maybe they can't just pump poison or irritants. I don't know. Maybe that's not a viable strategy.
Israel made huge gains today and in the past week. We know Bet Hanun has been completely taken. We've seen all these fields completely taken and cleared. We got that confirmation. Then also in the central parts of Jabalia, Israel continued to push in from both the axes, from the east side over here and from the west side over here. Just as we've been reporting, they've finally been able to meet up these troops. As I told you guys, there's no possible way Hamas would stop this from happening. It was just only a matter of time. At the same time, they continue to put pressure down here into the central parts. They still want to take this area, and they still want to keep putting pressure on the central areas of Gaza City from this direction. They also took a bunch of ground near Bet Lahaya. So with this encirclement, they didn't just stop there. They didn't just stop when they met up their troops from these directions. They pushed north. They pushed towards Bet Lahaya and quite deep into it. So we've seen they've taken a bunch of land. They're getting to the outskirts of the stronghold that Hamas has in this area. They took a bunch of land from the south. They pushed in also from the north area over here. You can see the lighter blue is all this area they've taken in the past 72 hours. In the past week or so, once again, this battle has been extremely fluid, and I have taken some time off, so it has taken some time to confirm all the advances. As you can see, the advances have been major on all fronts inside the northern parts of Gaza City, basically. So Bet Lahaya remains, and there is still a Hamas stronghold that's fighting over here, and IDF is still in the process of clearing this area. They continue to push, and they're pushing in currently from every side. IDF also is operating in some of these neighborhoods already as we speak and as we're making this episode. So what can we say? This has been a huge week for IDF. This has been a huge past 72 hours, 48 hours, with a lot of confirmation coming in, a lot of geolocated footage being released with IDF operating and on a lot of the deeper parts of northern areas of Gaza City. Bet Hanun finally has been completely cleared.
I actually expect to see surrenders. Remember, like, I think last week when they took a bunch of land, we saw a bunch of surrenders. So we should expect to see that again. And with more surrenders, there's more information, and that kind of should help expedite the war. Because I know that the New York Times reported that Joe Biden has put pressure on Israel to tone down its military advancement after the new year, which just means that now Israel has to like go full ham. They have to really push the pace to bring it down, which is not always the best, right? You can put more casualties. You can have more casualties on your end. There can be more civilian casualties. There can be more mistakes when you can't go as fast, as slow. But at the same time, this also does alleviate on the possibility of people in the south of Gaza who are just like getting their shit stolen from Hamas, suffering for longer and longer and longer.
We know that Bet Hanun has been a major Hamas stronghold. That was a town where Hamas expected the IDF vanguard to come through. They built up this area quite extensively. We saw how much footage we had of IDF destroying tunnels in that area. We also know it isn't easy to just clear some of these open fields. Hamas has quite a lot of tunnels in these open fields where they were able to conduct ambushes and hit from the flanks. The movements from the IDF, they continue, and the pressure is mounting big time on Hamas at this point. You know, now it's getting into the denser parts of Gaza City, and now that some of the more denser areas that Hamas has built up, such as Bet Hanun, are falling. Bet Lahaya, which will be falling soon as well, probably give it another week max, and this area is going to be taken. I would be surprised if it lasted a week, maybe even 48 hours. We already know the IDF is already operating in here, and once again, keep in mind with the fog of war, this battle is fluid. A lot of changes are happening even as we make these episodes. We know that IDF,
honestly, Scott, I don't know. I think they have a what's that guy's name on Oh my God, what's that guy's name who runs Hamas? Let me look at that. Let me find out while this is
continues to
playing.
push in from the northwest area over here, also from the northeast over here, and they're pushing in both directions. They're pushing towards the central parts of Gaza City and Jabalia, and they're also pushing in towards Bet Lahaya. Then we're also getting a lot of activity in the central parts of Gaza City.
Yeah, this guy. Sinwar is the current like military leader. This is the guy that they're really after. He's currently like the guy. I mean, he's, by the way, if you don't know, Israel actually, oh, this guy was HG man. Israel actually cured him of brain cancer, I believe in 2013, which is a whole other trip. It's a whole other trip and a half. So
we're getting IDF raids over here, as well as continuing with the IDF raids in this area near Al-Shifa complex. Now, we'll take a look at the south axis that was opened recently.
oh yeah, you didn't know HGU that Israel cured him of brain cancer? I think, when was it that they did it? Let's look it up. When was this? When exactly was the year where they did that? Yes, there we go. So the Hamas mastermind, Yahya Sinwar, who's to blame for the October 7th attack, when was in prison, Israel cured him of his brain cancer. They gave him a life-saving treatment, released him, sent him back to Gaza, and then he rejoined Hamas and it's quite an insane story. It's quite an insane story. Yep. It's quite insane. 2006, not 2013. Okay, that's where you gotta do your research. In 2006, they saved him. So, what are you writing there? Holy shit, indeed. Did you not know that? Did you guys not know that this happened? That Yahya Sinwar was cured while in prison in Israel from his brain cancer? They saved his life, and then he orchestrated these attacks. Just talk about messing up on all fronts.
When we had those troops pushing in to clear all this direction from the northeast, this south axis came in key. We saw this opened up recently, and they were able to mount a huge amount of pressure on this axis, specifically Salah al-Din Road from this direction, which actually was a big reason for the downfall of Bet Hanun. The Hamas operatives in this area, once they started getting squeezed from both directions, they had to basically withdraw, as we saw already from multiple different instances in this battle. When they get squeezed from two directions, that's basically what they have to do. And it's a big shout out to the troops that are operating from the south here. Their pressure from the south, it can't be understated enough. We know how tough the battle in Bet Hanun has been for the IDF forces in the northeast sector over here. The pressure that they put on Hamas and their supply lines on this road, Salah al-Din Road, from the southern parts over here, from the southern area of the border, it was critical in the clearing of that sector. So now for IDF, this is huge. This is going to also open up a big amount of troops that they've had operating actually in Bet Hanun. They're going to be able to refocus these troops on different fronts. They're going to be able to take these troops and help out Bet Lahaya, clearing Bet Lahaya, as well as to push into more central parts of Gaza City from this direction. And once Bet Lahaya falls, that is also going to open up a big amount of troops for the IDF. So they'll be able to continue their...
I wonder if they're actually just going to push straight in here like he's saying, or if they're going to down here in the south where they're trying to, you can't see it, my face is underneath it, but when he gets there, I'll show you.
Push, and they'll continue their pressure on the central.
I think that they're going to might send the troops even further down south where they're trying, because right, their goal is considered to create these connections across the strip. So down here in the south, there's another connection. You see, we see a little tank over here. They might use these forces to just kind of like move them around so they can put more pressure here and then kind of divide it into two sections and take it, as opposed to pushing straight through, because then they can still push munitions for. But you know something? What do I know? I don't know where he's from. I think he's Serbian, but he might also be Israeli. But all I know is that this information is great. When I first found this channel, I was like, no way that this is, I think this guy's just making shit up. But no, he really is looking at what's happening and giving you amazing military news of what's going on. So like, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's so good. I really do think it's so good. But I think he's Serbian.
So from the IDF side, in this sector, we see how close the bombing is to the front. This happened just 12 hours ago. We had airstrikes even already in IDF controlled territory in this sector. Then we have airstrikes supporting the troops that continue to push near Salah al-Din Road, just in this area over here. And then to the west, to the northwest push, the troops that are pushing in from the northwest pincer, those guys are also getting close air support just over there. And we do know Hamas has quite extensively built fortifications in that exact area. So we're going to keep a close eye on this sector, and it remains fluid. IDF continues to push in the central areas. They continue to push towards Bet Lahaya, and this battle from IDF is just picking up now. The next couple weeks are going to be incredibly interesting to see what IDF puts a focus on next. Are they going to try to maintain operations here and their pace of operations here in the north, or are they going to shift their focus back to the south? So now let's take a look at this.
You see, this is where I was saying I think they might, I think they might try to connect this line over here. Like, why put all this pressure here when if you just cut across again, you can just encircle them, or you can force them out of the south into the central area. Right? Why just put all this pressure through the north and squeeze? Then if you can already control all this land down here, I don't know.
To focus on next, are they going to try to maintain to the south? So now let's take a look at the south. The south area, this is another area of Gaza Strip that's seen a lot of movement. We had a big activation of troops come in from just the border area in this sector itself. They pushed down southwest towards Berej. They got to the outskirts of Berej, and then they kept on pushing all the way, getting to the south outskirts of Al-Maghazi, just outside here. And IDF pushed with tanks, infantry, and close air support on this sector. They were also able to push down Salah al-Din Road just a little bit, but then they just branched off, not getting into the more intense urban environments towards Berej camp. And to the north of that, they tried to focus mostly on the more open areas so they can start clearing these open areas in preparation for their assaults on some of the more denser areas in this sector. We also had quite a few airstrikes here. We had airstrikes to the north over here, and then just central areas just outside the front.
I see what you're
west
saying,
of
Scott.
the front, about 2
right, just
kilometers
push them
to
into
the
an area,
west
and then
of
you
the
know you
front.
can fortify
We
that
had a
area, then
couple
it's
more
fine.
airstrikes as
You.
well as artillery in that sector. Now Deir al-Balah got hit towards the coast a couple times, and then in the central districts it got hit with airstrikes. That's another town that's been getting hit quite a bit. Now we're going to take a look at Khan Yunis. Khan Yunis, we didn't see too much action in the past 24 hours. We don't have any full confirmation that new ground has been taken near Khan Yunis, but we did have some movement to the east of Khan Yunis. IDF expands their foothold on some of these open areas to the east of Khan Yunis. Over here in this direction, we have IDF infantry as well as IDF tanks operating in this sector. Then we also did have confirmation at least one IDF tank was hit right here on this road while they were trying this push, but it didn't stop them. They've been able to maintain their push, and they've been able to grab all this land just over here on that border area. This is a lot of open fields, so just keep that in mind. That's where IDF is kind of trying to clear right now in preparation for some of their more heavier pushes on the more dense environments like Khan Yunis. Now also IDF was carrying out multiple strikes all over Khan Yunis and to the east of Khan Yunis. We know IDF troops are operating in this sector already, although they haven't fully cleared this and they haven't been able to establish full control. We are getting strikes to the west of their troops and to the east of their troops, real close to where they're operating near Khan Yunis, as well as to the northwestern area of Khan Yunis, just over here on the outskirts of Khan Yunis. Now, the south sector, the south push of Khan Yunis, we didn't see too much action from these guys. These guys have been consolidating and mostly just supporting these guys that are pushing in from the north of Khan Yunis. They've been trying to provide fire support as well as close air support from the south here. But also, I will say we should be getting ready for these guys to make a move as well, because we do know IDF is picking up pace with their operations in Gaza Strip. Now, also, just one more thing with Gaza Strip, Rafah Crossing, close to Rafah Crossing, we did have one IDF airstrike just outside of Rafah Crossing in this area that targeted some militants over there. Let's quickly go over the...
Damn, that's so fucked up. That's so... Even where the civilians are supposed to go, there are insurgents that they're airstriking. Wow.
North border with Israel and Lebanon. Now, this border has seen most of the action today in the central area, but we're going to start from the west coast as per usual, so near Shlomi.
Yeah, here it's not that interesting. Basically, Israel just airstrikes the north every time they try to do something. They keep sending airstrikes over and over and over and over and over and over and over. That's basically what it is. The north is they see Hezbollah, they send some rockets, they blow them up. It's not that entertaining. Okay. So for those who've still stuck around after this boring video, I mean, I thought it wasn't boring, but after this video, I'm now going. Throughout the week, I've been, messing with my watch later list, and I put on these random videos. We can remove this one. We just watched it. Remove from watch later, but let's just shuffle through these. Some of these are Destiny and Cenk Uygur. I know Democracy Now! Posted a video. It wasn't boring. Oh, thanks, bro. Conservatives lose it over Taylor Swift. We got some fresh and fit clips. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's shuffle them all. Let's see what we get. We got fresh. My fucking nightmare exists.
Cat is trying.
So, for all transparency's sake, this is literally going to be the first fresh and fit video that I will watch from beginning to maybe the end. We'll see. But it's going to be my first time interacting with whatever this is. So, let's see what that's going to be like. I just imagine it's going to be probably the worst thing I've ever seen. Oh, Trump got banned by Colorado court. I mean, not surprising. Came down earlier today. Wait, what? Okay, wait 1 second. Trump banned in Colorado? Good shit, Colorado. Oh, yes. Trump is ineligible for office under the 14th Amendment insurrectionist ban, Colorado Supreme Court rules. Guys, so anytime someone says Trump is not an insurrectionist, a Supreme Court ruled that. Do we believe in justice? Do we believe in law and order? Proof against the narrative, guys. Proof against the narrative. So don't let them talk about being on the ballot in a stunning, unprecedented decision. 3-4 ruling. Interesting. What was it? What was the decision? That's 213 pages. Nope. Not happening. Okay. So the majority wrote, President Trump did not merely incite the insurrection. The majority wrote an unsigned opinion. Even when the siege on the Capitol was fully underway, he continued to support it, repeating a demand that Vice President Mike Pence refused to perform his constitutional duty, and by calling senators to persuade them to stop counting the electoral votes. These actions constitute overt, voluntary, and direct participation in the insurrection. Good fucking shit on you, Colorado. First, you legalize weed. Now you do this. The rest of the states gotta just, follow up. You guys gotta follow up. Follow up. Colorado knows what's up. Scott, are you proud of representing Colorado right now, Scott? Is that what's happening? Because I need to know. Are you proud of representing Colorado? He's gonna either type yes or no, but we'll see. I'm sure he's gonna type yes. Yeah, we be doing it exactly. Okay, crazy. That's actually crazy. I cannot believe that. That's crazy. But let's get back to this brain rot. So
trying to put a square peg in a round hole, saying my view.
okay.
Cat is trying to put a square peg in a round hole, saying my view is crazy, but it's actually based in biological fact, and it's worked for millennia. And as a matter of fact, we have the society we have today because of polygamy to some degree. Monogamy as well, but monogamy for the man is a choice. Monogamy for the woman, it's pretty much necessary.
So
What the fuck does this guy mean by monogamy for a woman is necessary and for the man is a choice? It's a choice for anyone. It's a decision you can make on whether you want to be monogamous or not. I don't. Is he saying that there's like a biological reason why women need to be monogamous and men need to be polyamorous or whatever it is? Is that what he's trying to say? That there's like biological underpinning for it?
what facts do you have to say that polygamy works?
Since the beginning of time,
Uh-huh.
high value men have had women.
But have
share
those
them.
women actually been happy? Like,
okay.
aren't we talking relationships on a basis
So,
of whether
Kat,
or not?
So let's explain what the issue with polygamous cultures are, and cultures that high value men can have many women. I'll explain to you what happens. So what ends up happening is that men who are in the middle class or in the upper class have 4, 5, 6 wives, and men in the lower class don't have wives. And what that ends up causing, it ends up causing peasant revolts. Throughout history, societies that had these systems consistently had peasant revolts. This is why marriage, monogamy, rights for women, like even as you go back enough to like 2,000 years ago, were instantiated in their biblical literature, or as we would say today, their constitutions, because you don't want a society in which you have a bunch of men who don't have women, who don't have wives. It causes uproar. Men saw women as property, and the poor were like, no, it's not fair. The rich hoard all the wealth, all the property, and give us none. That's kind of where traditional marriage and monogamy came from. I don't know what this guy's talking about. He's literally just pulling shit out of his ass. Absolutely out of his ass.
Not we're both happy.
Irrelevant.
Cat, I'm gonna be
Irrelevant.
marriage?
I mean, I'm not gonna be sharing no man unless I'm happy.
Okay, Cat.
I want to be happy. I want to be feeling like the attention's on me.
Okay, well, Cat, here's the thing. See, and I'm gonna show you how crazy your argument is here in a second. But marriage is not about necessarily happiness. It's about duty of raising children that are gonna be contributing members of society. That's what marriage is about.
That's
Only in the
old school.
West. Okay, only in the West do we have this crazy concept that we need to be happy at all times within marriage. Raising your children in a state.
Who says that in the West? They always say this. Only in the West do we have this idea. Who says that we should be happy in marriage? This is like the biggest straw man I've ever heard. Every psychologist, every professional, ask any married person if marriage is about being happy all the time. It's people like this motherfucker, honestly. Like, see, this is why I get so triggered from this. It's people like this motherfucker who watch a Disney film and think that's like a prescription about how to live your life. It's like he grew up watching Aladdin and like Cinderella, and he's like, I can't believe this is what I'm learning. Relax, bro. Relax.
Stable household and giving them food to eat and a safe home to be at should be where you derive your happiness. And when you break the family apart, which is what's going on in the West, single mother households, etc., things get fucked up and kids end up fucked up.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what you said you want a man that makes.
It astounds me that they talk about the West and kids and families get fucked up. When you look at third world countries, you look at other countries, they have pretty fucked up kids. They can't hold families together. It's developed countries that hold families together and are able to do that. I mean, he's pointing out the fact that the West, he's saying the West, whatever that means.
$300,000 to $500,000 a year is going to basically never say no to you and let you
I'm
live
not
the
saying
lifestyle
he
that
doesn't
you
have
want.
to say no. I'm saying my lifestyle is never going to allow me to say no to myself.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make is this. I'm just giving you your standards, right? You want a guy, pretty much the man you described as a 1% man. Now, I did not challenge you on your preference. I said you have your preferences.
I'm
All I
also
gave
a
you-
1% woman.
Okay, let me finish my point, and then I will
Damn,
give you
she's
in a
stupid.
second why
She's an idiot.
that is irrelevant from what you're saying.
I'm just gonna be blunt. You're not a 1% woman. You're a dime a dozen. Let's just be real. If we walk around with like 1% women are the type of like professional athletes, hedge fund managers, valedictorians, the same type of like hyper successful, hyper intelligent women. You're not that. You're just some girl on a podcast. We're all a dime a dozen. There's a million people who could replace us in any situation. Tim Minchin has a great song of it. It's a song he wrote for his wife that if she in a different situation, he would probably have someone else. And that's what we have to recognize. We're not that special.
So you want a 1% man, okay? You want a man that makes a lot of money, successful, ambitious, can provide you a certain lifestyle. I countered and said, you can want that, but the consequence of dealing with this caliber of man who's rare is you're gonna have to share him, okay? You don't like that. You want him to be exclusive to you. So you're hoping that you'll find one that's going to meet these requirements, which quite frankly is slim to none. I understand that my environment is not conducive to what I want. So what am I doing? You're operating on possibilities. I'm operating on probabilities. I know if I go to the Middle East, where things are different, the women are actually held to a standard, right, to become good wives and mothers, etc. I am going to increase my probabilities of getting what I want, and I am willing to travel and make.
Wait, is this guy like a cuck for Islam or something? Is that what he's trying to say? Like we should all convert to Islam, so you have to become a good wife or a good mother or something? Is that what this guy's doing? Is this where this is going?
Sacrifices to make it happen. You are not, though. You want to basically get this top tier man. You want him to be committed to only you, and you want a certain lifestyle where you can't necessarily be told no. That's a possibility, but it's slim. So you can do what you want, but at least what I'm trying to do is actually probable to a higher degree, and I'm making overt actions to make it happen.
Bam. Ether.
He literally said nothing. Like that was the most nonsense thing.
At least what I'm trying to do is actually probable to a higher degree.
What are you trying to do? You're trying to find a woman who's a wife?
No, that's a possibility, but it's slim. So you can do what you want, but at least what I'm trying to do is actually probable to a higher degree, and I'm making overt actions to make it happen.
Bam. Ether.
Okay,
Fire.
I have a question.
Yeah.
No.
Did you have anything you want to say on that, Kat?
She's nice.
I mean, you can. Well,
I
I know
mean,
that, but I want to give her a chance to rebut that.
All I'm saying is that the more that I feel that it's not possible to find the things that I want, the less that I'm going to have my eyes open to the opportunities that will give me what I want. So, I mean,
What?
It's not possible to find the things that I want, the less that I'm going to have my eyes open to the opportunities that will give me what I want.
Okay, yes. If you don't see the things you want, then you should probably not aim for the things that you can't get. Sure. 1000%.
So, I mean, I'm not going to settle until I get what I want.
Okay, that's fine.
And I mean,
Nothing
like,
wrong
if
with that.
I'm going to provide the lifestyle that I want, then I want to make sure that I'm finding somebody that's also going to want the lifestyle.
But isn't that what she's saying, the red pill mentality though? Like I don't watch this stuff. Is this like the red pill mentality? Like go after what you want, don't settle, fight for whatever you want to do, become the person you want. Like isn't that the mentality? Why is he shitting on her if that's the mentality red pillars should have? Like I don't understand. Is it because she's a woman she can't have this mentality? Is that what it is?
Style that I want to live. And whether or not he can provide for that, he still needs to be on board with the direction I want to go.
Question.
Whether or not he wants to build that empire with me, whether or not he already has that empire built, but it's going to be where I want to go in my life.
Okay. Well, okay. So you want a very successful man that makes that kind of money to build an empire with you that's going to be monogamous to you. Hey, we can all dream.
If we both have the lifestyle that we both desire, why are we not going to want to do it together? And if we have that love for each other, then why are we not going to be able to be monogamous?
She's actually saying something completely right. I want to find someone who has the same goals and values as me, who also wants to be monogamous. And if that's far-fetched, that's far-fetched, but that's what she wants. Is the whole point that it's a fantasy, her 1% fantasy? I don't know if that's a fantasy. 50% of marriages end with divorce, so I guess it's 1/2 a fantasy.
Already successful
Monogamous.
when you found him and isn't going to change his course because of you. That's the difference.
I mean, but I'm already successful.
Yeah, but he's significantly more successful than you. He's made a lot. He's made the man you're looking for is making quite a bit of money. Here's the thing, ladies. You don't make $300,000 to $500,000 a year working with a woman. You do that shit by being ambitious and being willing to do it by yourself. The girl can come in and maybe compliment you, help you build it even more. But when you get to a certain level, you're self-sufficient. You don't need help anymore.
Right.
Okay?
What a stupid way to look at it. People who are successful, this guy, let's say this guy thinks he's successful, right? Anyone who's successful needs to have a financial support network. Nobody just gets rich by themselves. Like, if it does happen, it's like not just a 1%, it's like the 0.000 something percent. He has people around him that he needs to be successful. And when you're in a relationship with someone and a woman can be a part of that, not self-sufficient. Again, no human being is entirely self-sufficient. We're social creatures. We live in a community. This myth that we're self-sufficient is probably one of the dumbest things anyone could say.
The caliber of man that you're chasing is a type A assertive dominant male that doesn't need you, period. Which is why you said before, I'm a 1% woman. I'm assuming you mean financially, right? Because you earn quite a bit.
I mean,
What makes you a 1% woman? That's what I was going to ask you.
Being natural, my financials.
Being natural? What the fuck does that mean? What makes you being natural? Like you don't have fake tits makes you a 1% woman? Where do they find Where do they find these people? Where do they find these people?
Okay. Are you aware that men don't care about a woman's financials? What actually makes a woman 1% woman are things that women typically don't tend to highlight
At all.
Compliant, feminine, attractive, fit.
Compliant. The first thing he said was compliant. Whoa. Way to out yourself as a fucking psycho.
Compliant.
I can't believe he said compliant.
At all.
Compliant, feminine, attractive.
Compliant, feminine, attractive. You can find tons of women that are compliant, feminine, and attractive. That's the first thing you come up to your mind when you think of a value woman? Compliant, feminine. What do you want? You want a lobotomized like model? Is that what you want? This guy wants a lobotomized model?
Active, fit.
Active, fit.
Willing to
Would you? I mean, I
Not
would say
promiscuous.
Not promiscuous. Now, remember, at the beginning of this episode, this guy said that the high value women are ones that aren't in the West. Those are ones from other areas that are trained to be good mothers and good homemakers. And he just listed, he's on 5, 6, 7 things right now that have nothing to do with being a good mother. What a fucking disingenuous asshole. What an asshole. Let's listen to his list again. Let's listen to his fucking list again and see where mothers are on that list. Let's see.
Are you aware that men don't care about a woman's financials? What actually makes a woman 1% woman are things that women typically don't tend to highlight
At all.
Compliant, feminine, attractive, fit.
Willing to
Would you? I mean, I
Not
would say
promiscuous.
willing to
Not
hear the
promiscuous.
words no.
Willing
to hear the word no.
to hear the words no. Following his lead. These are things that make a.
Well, now, if we go back to the beginning, I'm not crazy. He said that what we want in a woman is someone who can be a mother and raise kids. And he didn't say any of that. He just wants a fucking slave. This guy is insane.
Woman 1%. Attraction, ladies, is not symmetrical. I'm going to say that again. Attraction between the two genders is not symmetrical. If I want a woman that's feminine, submissive, and attractive, right, and cute, The woman
What about the mother? You said you wanted someone to raise your kids. Now you don't give a shit about that?
is within her right to want a male that's masculine, dominant, and a leader. We complement each other. We're very different. The things that you want are what men want. You might say to yourself, I'm a 1% woman, but that's false. The market dictates your value, not you. I'm going to say
The market dictates your value, not you.
that again, because a lot of girls want to sit here and
This is like I said earlier on, this is the type of man who thinks of women as a market, as something to be bought and sold. This is why they say value. This is literally like this is like blanket, like early Bronze Age misogyny.
say, I'm a princess, I'm a 10. No, you're not, because the market dictates your value, not you. Men had to deal with this reality that the market dictates our value, because guess what? If I'm broke, short, ugly, girls don't date me.
Exactly.
So the market dictates my value. So as a woman, if a high value man isn't marrying you or proposing to you that you love, admire, and respect, the market is judging you as well. And now you're not of value. The problem is this: we live in a world where we tell women that they
I got to prepare for this big, like, what the problem is. The problem is what? Come on, tell me what the problem, bro. I'm waiting for your bro logic. Let's do it. 1 second. Okay.
value. The problem is this: we live in a world where we tell women that they can do no wrong, they're perfect however they come, and they don't have to self-improve. And I'm here to tell you that's a fucking lie. You got to self-improve just like us, and you got to bring value.
Who says that women shouldn't improve? What is this guy talking about? Isn't the whole like Beyonce be a boss ass bitch thing was because women should improve? What is this guy talking about?
Value. The thing is, you guys are brainwashed to think your value comes from what we do. No, it doesn't. It comes from the opposite of what we do, because men need a woman to assist him in his mission, not your mission. Your mission is irrelevant.
So the mission of wanting to be a wife, this guy this is so dumb.
When he benefits, you benefit. When you benefit, he's immediately going to be pushed to the side. No girl wants to
be. The fact that this has 3.7 million views blows my goddamn mind. This is just so sad. This is just really, really fucking sad. This is really, really sad. Okay, I said I'm going to watch it till the end, so I guess I got to watch it till the end.
The guy that she can run all over. So a 1% woman does not exist unless she's alongside a 1% man, because your value is determined by the caliber of man you can attract. You can't self-proclaim you're a 1% woman.
Guys, this podcast, if it's just nothing else, invest in dog food and cat food and save your money.
And cat,
holy shit. That was brain rot to like the maximum degree. Oh my goodness. I've well, I mean, I guess I got to call this guy out for not actually wanting a woman. I guess so. I guess I got to make a little video about this. Wow. She's a legend in her own mind, these comments are saying. Wow. So sad. Okay. Let's remove this video from the playlist and go next. What's the next video? No, I'm not watching more of this shit. Absolutely not. I want to watch a different video. So what do we want to watch? Do we want to watch Destiny calling out Cenk Uyghur's solution to Israel? Are we gonna watch? You guys want to watch Democracy Now! And Secular Talk, or Piers Morgan talk about Steven Crowder? What do we feel like watching? I mean, it's only 10 minutes from Destiny. It's a Destiny clip. It's 10 minutes of him calling out Cenk's unrealistic solution on Israel. Or do we watch Destiny Cenk? We're watching Destiny Cenk? Okay. Destiny Cenk it is.
But at the end of the day, nobody actually gives a about the Palestinian people or the Israeli people, which is why all these crazy positions come out. If you obviously
I just want to remind everyone that if you don't know this, Cenk Uyghur said a few years ago that if he could have it his like that, if he would become president, he would make bestiality legal if the animal likes it. I just want to remind people that he said that. He can't run away from that comment. He actually said that comment, so he can't run away from it. I will never let the man run away from the fact that he advocated for bestiality.
Don't want peace, okay? That's clear. Because nothing that you're saying is rooted in reality. Nothing you're saying has any like bearing with the conditions on the ground.
But your plan is indefinite occupation. How does that get to peace? But so far, now in summary, you're saying if someone took any of
Wait, don't summarize your position. Don't summarize my position. Summarize your position. I don't think you understand my position.
I'm going to summarize what I think happened in this conversation.
Okay, I'll summarize yours as well after, sure.
If someone were to take your land, you would grab the gun behind you and try to shoot and kill them. Now you say, but the Palestinians, if they do that, they're terrorists and they deserve to be indefinitely occupied. They're terrorists wherever they go. They're violent. It's their fault. They always do the attacking, and they should know their role as prisoners indefinitely under Israeli occupation. But
so I have not seen this. If that's what Destiny said, which I'm sure Destiny's not dumb enough to say that, yeah, you can't do that. But Cenk is equivocating here, because little kids and families who are just trying to like build their life and build a village in what pre-67 was Jordan, they don't deserve to be shot and killed. They don't deserve to be suicide bombed. They don't deserve to have rockets sent over them. That's just not a thing they deserve. And to equivocate between someone coming into your house, trying to take it from you, and you defending it, that's just a wholesale equivocation. It's again one of these analogies that a lot of people do, where they equate geopolitics and global solutions to like how we deal with interpersonal problems, right? Like, oh, we have to show them strength, or we have to, I don't know, how would you feel if someone came and stole your bread? Doesn't work that way. We're talking about geopolitics. The solutions for how we deal with groups and societies are different than how we would deal personally. Justice and morals, as they are individually between us, are different in between groups. Okay? And this level of equivocation is lazy. It's absolutely lazy.
if Israel goes to fight back against October 7th, well, you can't be expected to fight back by doing hard things like going inside the tunnels. So let's just evaporate the civilians instead. Murder tens of thousands of civilians because Israel is not the violent ones. And state violence doesn't count. That violence is just defending yourself. But when the Palestinians defend themselves, terrorists! Now, you would do the same thing, you agreed, but they are not allowed to do it. They are dastardly terrorists, and they should be occupied forever and ever.
So that straw man, again, if it's shown that Israel targets civilians, directly targets civilians on purpose when they're fighting Hamas, those are war crimes. And the international courts need to deal that, sanction Israel. That's be a problem. But that has yet to be the evidence, that there's direct targeting of civilians in retribution. That's not what seems to be going on. And the evidence goes against that from everything that I've seen, unless there's other evidence which I haven't seen. But just the fact, you drop leaflets, you warn beforehand, you create digital maps. This is counter to that narrative that Cenk is saying again. He's strawmanning. He's creating a fictional character to attack.
But Israel can bomb giant residential areas, 29,000 bombs, 2,000-pound bombs. But that is not violence. That is not targeting civilians. That's just, golly gee, I had to do it to clear a path in. So that is as absurd as it can be, and everyone it can recognize it.
Destiny, I think you want to respond to that because I don't think that's probably what you meant.
Yeah, I don't know. Most of the people just don't want to operate in reality because I think that this particular conflict lets us read a lot of ideological leanings into what should happen. But at the end of the day, nobody actually gives a about the Palestinian people or the Israeli people, which is why all these crazy positions come out.
If you
obviously you don't want peace. Okay, that's clear. Because nothing that you're saying.
Okay. Stephen Bonnell II, Mr. Destiny. Okay, I'm sure Cenk actually wants peace, right? He just might be an idiot. But I'm sure he wants peace, right? I remember talking to someone who said, oh, they should just send special forces into Gaza. Like, where did you get your military degree? Mission Impossible? Yeah, you might just be an idiot, but I'm sure he wants peace. That's not helpful to the conversation.
is rooted in reality. Nothing you're saying has any like bearing with the conditions on the ground.
But your plan is indefinite occupation. How does that get to peace?
Shit. Did I reveal that? Did I say that in this conversation that my goal would be indefinite occupation?
After October 7th, we can't do a peace deal right now.
Sorry,
So
you're
tell me
misunderstanding
that
a
sounds
prescription for a description. You need to accurately describe what's going on before you can prescribe what ought to happen. The reality is after October 7th, the appetite in Israel for peace is very low.
Okay, if for any future human being who will probably not be watching this, descriptive and prescriptive are two different things, right? So descriptive is just like an analysis of what's going on. For example, this is a phone case. It's yellow on the inside. It's gray on the outside. It has a magnet. That's a description. A prescription, be like, you should put your phone in here. So Destiny is right. You have to describe something. Something first needs to be described so we understand it and then we know what to do with it, to prescribe what ought to be done with it. And maybe he is confusing description with prescriptive. I wouldn't put it above Cenk. Cenk is an idiot.
Low. That's just a fact that you have to contend with, because if you want to create real solutions for people, you've got to meet the people where they're at. That's just how it goes. That's why support for a two-state solution dropped off after the second Intifada. I'm not saying that's right or it's good. I'm just saying that, of course, as terrorist attacks happen, this is how people respond. Just like how you've said over and over again, and I'm trying to be good faith and charitable when I am confronting you, you're saying over and over again, this is why the people in Gaza are attacking. This is why you're doing terrorists. I hope, or I think you're not justifying the attacks, although sometimes it sounds like it. You're just saying that when you do this,
you're definitely justifying Israel killing those civilians, though.
Thank you. Nice try, Cenk. Okay. When you're saying this, no, it's literally not. When you're saying that the people are doing this because of the conditions on the ground, I'm merely saying the same thing for Israel. For some reason, ultra far right Zionists can't understand the Palestinian position, and people that simp for Palestinians that don't understand what's going on the ground can't seem to understand Israel's position. You'll say these things over and over again.
Yes. That is actually such a good take. I find myself consistently in that position. When I try to explain to people who are on the far left, who are very pro-Palestinian, why Israel acts the way they act, they go, I don't care, they're the aggressors or the oppressors. Doesn't really matter. Are you justifying it? No, I'm just telling you what's happening. Like, and vice versa, they think, oh, I'm pro-Palestinian if I say why Palestinians are acting the way they're acting. That's true. That is what Destiny is saying is true. That's the reality of dealing in this conversation.
Again, that like, well, wouldn't it be fair that like people in Palestine are really upset because of the military occupation? And then when I say, yeah, of course, but don't you think it's also kind of weird that there are rockets flying in every day? Now there's like 50 million justifications for why that's actually not a big deal and it actually doesn't matter. And that's bizarre to me. I condemned it. That's hardly. My solution for this is what needs to happen if you want peace in the Middle East, and anything outside of these boundaries is delusional, okay? Number one, Iran has to come to the table, and they need to stop, okay? No more funding in Gaza, no more funding with Hezbollah, no more funding with the Houthis, okay? This has to stop. Iran has to be part of any future conversation.
They have to surrender first. Not only the Palestinians, but the Iranians have to surrender first.
So when he says the Palestinians have to surrender, this really annoys me about people on the left or liberals in general. If we're liberals, if we believe in democracy, self-determination, if you believe in all of that, you cannot simultaneously believe that Hamas is a legitimate extension of the Palestinian people, right? That is not a true democracy. That's just not it. So the people there are victims of Hamas. Unless you actually believe that Hamas is a legitimate sovereign of the Palestinian people, then we have a bigger problem on our hand. That means that the Palestinian people are okay with what Hamas did as a whole. I believe they're brainwashed. I believe that they're indoctrinated, but that Hamas is their enemy in the same way that Iran is the enemy of the Palestinian people. So when Destiny says that Iran needs to stop, he's right. We're not going to have peace if Iran continues to fund these rebel terrorist groups who are trying to stop America's influence. Now, if the roles were reversed and we had like these little rebel forces attacking in sovereign democratic nations funded by America, I don't think Cenk would blink an eye and say America has to stop funding those. I don't think he would blink a fucking eye. Yes, correct. Hamas did dissolve the democracy once they were elected. They are not. The people in Gaza are victims of Hamas. Absolutely. Destiny is a cuck. I think he is a cuck. I think he's a proud cuck, though. At least give him that. Also, Matt Dillahunty, by the way. For those who don't know, my nickname for Matt Dillahunty is Cuckahunty. So, Matt Cuckahunty.
Super realistic.
I didn't say surrender. I'm sorry, but no offense. Iran's lost, okay? I'm sorry. They are the losers of the Middle East. Everybody looks at them. Everybody laughs. They try to mine the fucking sea to the south of them. They try to shoot shit into Saudi Arabia. But Iran, the Ayatollah is such a loser. Even the people in Iran hate the government, okay?
How are you going to get the Iranian government to stop funding Hamas?
In terms of what those talks look like, I imagine there probably needs to be a lot of U.S. leadership. I imagine there probably needs to be Saudi Arabian leadership, and there's probably other Arab states, especially Qatar, that have to be brought in as well. I don't know what concessions need to make in terms of the easing of sanctions, in terms of allowing the UN to investigate potential nuclear reactors. I don't know what all we can offer, but Jesus, in 76 to 79, what we gave Egypt, how many billions of dollars to tell them, listen, stop.
So I think he's talking so fast, he's not even being heard for what he wants to say, because he's saying something right here. He's saying something really right, okay? Like, when we talk about, like, justice, when we talk about what needs to be done politically or how we solve a conflict, I'll start with this. I think this would be a good point to say. Okay. Okay. In the United States, or when we look at like the history of the justice system in the United States, let's ask the question, why was the death penalty allowed? Like, I don't think the death penalty is strong, is good. I don't think it's justice. I don't consider that justice. So why is it that the death penalty or killing someone was a form of justice? Why was Hammurabi, an eye for an eye, was a form of justice? The reason is because the people in that area were able to go through some sort of operation, some sort of agreement where when this happens, or we take this out of our hands, we let a governing body do this and create a rule or an adjudication process by which if something happens to you, you did something to me, and now this power does this thing to you, and now we can both forget about it. We can move on legally, where the deal is settled. That's what operationally justice being served looks like. So if we want to figure out a solution for this, it needs to be a solution that would be accepted by both parties. And we're not going to be able to know what that looks like because we are not those parties. I no longer live in Israel. I have an Israeli citizenship, but I don't vote. I'm not involved in those decisions. And just like I'm not Palestinian, I'm not involved in those decisions. This is where there needs to be a mediator between them. There has to be someone who can help adjudicate this. And the point of that was supposed to be the UN. And this is why I always go back to this over and over. The failure here is an international one. The UN and these international organizations were developed to stop this from happening. And it has failed, period, end of the day. Period, end of the day. It has failed. But he is right. He is right. We don't know exactly what it is, what we can offer them. He's right.
Stop fighting with Israel. If we've done it with Egypt, we've done it with other people. Can't we do it with Iran? It must be possible at some point, right? So one is support from Iran has to stop, and that's number one. That has to be the case. Number two, Israel needs to make a concerted effort towards peace. And this might mean things like you are going to have to grin and bear a couple of terror attacks because they're going to happen. And it can't be the case that every time Israel loses 3 soldiers, they go in and they kill 50 civilians. This has been the history of Israel and Palestine for like 75.
So there was a time during the 90s with Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, when a terrorist attack did happen and children died and there were suicide bombers, buses exploded. He used to say, Zeh mechir shalom. This is the price for peace. And people in Israel weren't vibing with that. They were not vibing with that. It was not something they were willing to do. And a big part of that is the generational trauma that Jews coming from the diaspora faced. And when I say that, people go, oh, you're justifying it. You're justifying I'm like, it's not about justification. It's just about realizing that these group of people are not going to be okay with feeling threatened from other countries, right? Almost all of people who live from Israel escaped pogroms, escaped discrimination in the Yemen, in Iraq, in Morocco, in Tunisia, right? And then we have 33% who came from the Holocaust. Almost everybody's their descendants. We have to recognize that if you let Israel just do this alone, if you don't help them internationally, Israel is going to behave in this militaristic way. They're going to go scorched earth because fuck that. They're not going to let that ride.
5 years. That cannot be happening over and over and over again, because obviously it foments hatred on both sides. Okay, so Israel needs to bear it. They need to work towards peace. They need to be willing to make some concessions, like dump some of these enclave settlements. Okay, you have to be willing to dump some of these. You can't continue to expand them because the settlements are obviously severely hamper the peace process.
So to that point, in 2005, when they withdrew from Gush Katif from Gaza and they evacuated like 10,000 of their own citizens, they did eat that, and what was the result? Was Hamas. So I don't know if that is the way forward. I think, again, that's the same reason I don't call for a ceasefire. I don't know if that's the solution either, right? I don't know if that's a solution. I don't know what the solution is, but I have my skepticism towards that solution of evacuating lands for peace, because that has not worked in the past. It didn't work when it was done. So...
And if you want to keep some of them, when you start to do your land swaps, you need to be willing to offer a lot for places like Hebron, okay? You can't have these enclaves out here that destroy the continuous state, okay? On the Palestinian side, okay, there needs to be a hardcore de-radicalization effort. You have to acknowledge that the Palestinian people want violence. Not Hamas, not the PLO, and not just the terrorists, but Palestinians en masse think that fighting will serve their end. That thought needs to be wiped out. That cannot be the case for them thinking that, because as long as they have that idea, same thing with Israel having that idea, as long as that idea exists, peace will never happen.
Yes, as long as that idea exists, peace will never happen. If you think that violence is going to be the solution, it's the only solution is when violence is no longer necessary. And if that means just the eradication of the other side, that's what that is. So yeah, I mean, he's right.
So whether that means the UN stops sending them textbooks and TV shows with Mickey Mouse, the evil Jew, in it, or whether that means there is an effort made by surrounding Arab states to communicate more, whether that means certain types of humanitarian aid are increased, although Gaza is already one of the largest per capita recipients of aid, literally in the entire world, whether that means the easing restrictions on some parts of like the border there from Israel, these are the things that need to happen to slowly work towards some two-state solution. And then hopefully at some point the Palestinian people are willing to elect somebody who's not a boss, because by the way, if a two-state solution ever happens in the future, it's never going to be with a boss. He already lost control of the Gaza Strip once. Why the hell would we give it back to him again?
Okay, so I've said this before. I mean, I don't know if I said this live, but there's a really good book called The Haifa Republic. It's a book written by Omri Boehm, who's a Israeli-German philosopher. Israeli-born, also moved to Germany. Now he teaches at the New School. And the name of the book is The Haifa Republic. And one of the best things about this book is the way in which he talks about the proposed solutions for a two-state. He goes, the two-state paradigm is dead. He recognizes the two-state's dead. This book was written before the conflict. And he also recognized that a one-state solution would just end up with either Israel being wiped off the map or Palestinians being wiped off the map. And he invokes what he calls a politics of forgetting. And what this politics of forgetting means is that we just have to understand that both sides can justify the atrocities that happen to them, and no matter how much you try to argue it, they're going to disagree. They're going to say, no, I'm justified, fuck you. No, I'm justified, fuck you. That's what that's going to be like. So he talks about this idea of having a binational two-state solution. And what does that mean? It means that Israel has its own state, its own sovereign state. And Palestinians have their own sovereign state. And they don't need to intermingle whatsoever. But the one thing they have to have in common is some sort of federal system, federal government. I actually think that's even too much. I think we can start with simply having like a joint commission on trade where they have to agree on trade from outside and in between them. And as long as they have to start agreeing on that, maybe we can move forward towards peace. I think that's the precursors of how peace should go. That's one of the things I'm kind of confident about, but that's about it, about this topic. Most of all, I'm just kind of like, I'm ignorant.
Why would you give him arms that encourage him to go into civil war in the Gaza Strip, assuming that one, he'll even win, and then two, that he'll manage to retain control of it, but he already lost control of it one time? Those are the things that need to happen if you actually want to see a two-state solution come about in the future. Anything else is cope, and I'll fight on any of those points.
Destiny, I want to push on 2 points, and I'll go to Cenk to give him a chance to respond. 2 points: Iranian government and de-radicalization. First of all, Iranian government. You said your whole point of peace, of solution for peace, has to be based on reality. I think what you're saying about pushing the US to work against Iran doesn't seem to be based on reality. I mean, they were going to work on a deal a couple of months ago. So I'm not sure how much that's based on reality. And
I think
you're right. Yeah.
So for real quick, so unfortunately in the United States, and this sucks, okay, is that...
Okay, I just have to put this video up because I can't stop thinking about it. Here's Cenk Uygur advocating for bestiality.
That I am going, if I were the benevolent dictator of the world, I would legalize bestiality where you are giving.
Oh yeah. Bestiality is only legal when you are giving it to the animal, like you're pleasuring, like you're sucking off a horse or something. This guy's out of his mind. This guy's out of his mind. No one should ever take him seriously.
Where you are pleasuring the animal. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now why? Why did that happen? It's the dumbest thing I've said.
It really is the dumbest thing you said. But
No, I'll tell you why. Because was the case that we covered where there was like a guy or a girl or something that was pleasuring a horse, and the horse came to a conclusion, right? So who got harmed? I mean, if you really asked the horse, did you mind? The answer's got to be no. Do you see what I'm saying? No.
This is such an awkward conversation.
It is. All
yeah.
right, I'm going to leave it be. Okay?
Okay, there you go. I just wanted to show you that.
Yeah, see, I'm in the same boat as what this guy's name, Jimmy Dore, lick my lips guy. But yeah. Oh, wow. Share the screen. There we go. Yeah, that was just so funny. I have to always play that. You know, he's about to. Yeah, he doubles down. BP's right. He doubles down throughout the whole video. He's so for it. He's like, yeah, suck off a horse. Yeah, let's go for it.
Our presidents are 4-year presidents, which is incredibly annoying, or 8-year presidents. So what that means is sometimes, unfortunately, you have to treat the strongest person in the world, sometimes how you would treat a U.S. police officer, you have to treat them like a schizophrenic person that could kill you at any point in time, okay? Because unfortunately, sometimes the U.S. will say things like under Obama, hey, listen, Iran, we're going to unfreeze some assets, we're going to work with you on some shit, and hopefully you guys don't pursue nuclear weapons if you let's investigate. And the next president might say, actually, I changed my mind on all of that. The United States, in my opinion, as not being an expert in Iranian history, but in my opinion, the United States has been close at some points to having a peaceful outcome with Iran, and we've it up for stupid reasons. When George Bush, for whatever reason, decided to throw Iran on the axis of evil, what a stupid decision. And it set us back so far in terms of the progress we've made with Iran. The joint pact of agreement of action, or whatever, the Iranian nuclear deal that Obama did was historic. That was amazing. We keep them from pursuing nuclear weapons. We slowly ease the sanctions on their economy. Hopefully the citizens don't hate us as much. And then Trump rolled that back. So I don't think it's impossible that the United States can pursue normalizing some type of relationship with Iran. We just have to not have schizophrenic leadership that is changing deals that we're making every time a new president comes into office, in my opinion.
Okay, so let me push on the next question. But anyway, that was the point to really promote your presidency, Ron. But let me push on the de-radicalization point now. I don't think the people in the Palestinian Authority actually, in their hearts, really want violence. They're in that space in Gaza, and they have their only hope really is Hamas. There is no other feasible hope. Who are they going to hope for? There's already government. That doesn't even make sense. In their hearts of hearts, they don't actually want violence. If there were to be another solution of peace, they would probably want that, something reasonable.
I can only go by polling data and what exists on the ground. Now, today, funnily enough, if you look at the support for Hamas or the October 7th attacks, in the Gaza Strip, that has fallen, I think, to around 55%. Now, in the West Bank, I think it's risen up to 80%, but it makes sense why. People in Gaza, after getting, completely bombed and obliterated, and all of their citizens, half of them being, expelled basically from northern Gaza, are like, you know what? The October 7th attacks actually weren't that good. This sucks. Now, the people in the West Bank, the support for the October 7th attacks for them, that has risen to 80%. I'm not trying to say that Palestinians are inherently violent people. If you want to talk about inherently violent people, you could almost make the same argument for Israel, right? The entire existence of them in that region, whether we're talking about the ear gun.
Can we just talk about this guy's facial expression through that dialogue? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. It's so clear to me that he's an anti-Semite. It's unbelievable. Just watch this.
In the Gaza Strip, that has fallen, I think, to around 55%. Now, in the West Bank, I think it's risen up to 80%, but it makes sense why. People in Gaza, after getting, completely bombed and obliterated, and all of their citizens, half of them being, expelled basically from northern Gaza, are like, you know what? The October 7th attacks actually weren't that good. This sucks. Now, the people in the West Bank, the support for the October 7th attacks for them, that has risen to 80%. I'm not trying to say that like Palestinians are inherently violent people. If you
Oh, look at his face. Oh, how could you possibly say such a thing?
when I talk about inherently violent people, you could almost make the same argument for Israel, right? The entire existence of them.
Now he's like, oh, now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. Now, right. This guy, such a clown. Facial expressions tell you so much about a person.
In that region, whether we're talking about the ear gun that existed, prior to the IDF, whether we're talking about the entire formation of Israel and the territorial expansion, blah, 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 you can make that argument about Israel. I'm just saying we have to understand that right now, Palestinians feel like if we fight, we will win and we'll have a better outcome. That thought needs to be eliminated. They cannot think that, because as long as they think that, why would they push for peace?
This news is
they're also going to get owned. So if they try, Israel's just way stronger. 1000%. So let's do one more video and then I think we'll call it a night. So let's see. We can watch Piers Morgan, Stephen Crowder, 22 minutes of that. Oh no. We can watch Secular Talk. Conservatives lose it over ugly Taylor Swift. Or we can watch Democracy Now! About something Scorched Earth campaigned is a joint U.S.-Israeli operation. I'm not sure if I want to do more Israel-Gaza shit. Let's go with conservatives. So we either got Steven Crowder or Taylor Swift. Fuck it, Taylor Swift. Everyone talks about Taylor Swift. Maybe watching some
all right, guys, here we go.
Swift shit is going to give me fucking views or some shit. I don't know.
Oftentimes, some figures on the right pick a fight with people they shouldn't. Okay, there's some groups you don't want to piss off online. The Beyonce fans, what do they call them? The Beehive. Taylor Swift fans, or as they're called, Swifties. These are not people you want to start some stuff with. Why? They are vicious. And there are many of them, okay? So, for whatever reason, man, the right has now turned on Taylor Swift. They hate Taylor Swift. The reason...
I just have to say that if you're watching someone who consistently says the right, the left, the West, ignore them. Just ignore. Like, really, in my opinion, just ignore them. The right is just they. Who is they? They we don't like. Just ignore them. To say Republicans, Democrats, that's different. We can point to a specific group. Kalinsky really needs to lose that fucking 2000 bleached hair. Yes. He has fully embraced like the boy band Linkin Park era. Like he really needs to like pull back from that. Yeah, I 1000% agree.
Why they hate her are so weird. Like what? She got a bunch of young girls to register.
I bet you though, he looks like he's looking in the camera at himself and he sees like the ring light in his eyes and he's like, damn, look at my eyes. He's feeling himself so hard right now. Right? This is like his glow up period. And he's just trying to Justin Timberlake all the way until he can't. He's probably loving it. He's probably loving it.
To vote. Like they hate that. Why? Because look, honestly, it actually does make sense because they don't want young Taylor Swift fans to vote because they know they're almost all going to vote Democrat. Right? Just by virtue of the demographics. Young women. And so they hate her for that. I don't know why they hate her for dating the Travis Kelce dude. I don't know.
They hate her because they don't want young people voting Democrat. I don't know. I mean, that's it's kind of sniffs to me like the same thing. Oh, Democrats want immigration because they want to like have more people. I don't know if that's the reason why they probably just hate her because she disagrees with them politically. I think it's as simple as that. It's not because they don't want young people voting. They just disagree with her politically. Simple. Right? Like, why do we have to overcomplicate the situation and think about it like a 4D chess move? Not everything's a 4D chess move. They just don't like her because they disagree with her. It's that simple.
Megyn Kelly was just going after her because she went to a comedy show where the guy was raising money for Gaza. And so now Megyn Kelly's basically going around saying, she needs to apologize to Jewish people. Again, these people are such goofballs. But anyway.
What did she do?
Saying, she needs to apologize to Jewish people.
Why?
Megyn Kelly was just going after her because she went to a comedy show where the guy was raising money for Gaza. And so now Megyn Kelly's basically going around saying, she needs to apologize to Jewish people.
That is dumb. Megyn Kelly is dumb. That's a dumb take by Megyn Kelly, guys. That's a dumb take by Megyn Kelly. Facts.
Again, these people are such goofballs. But anyway, Charlie Kirk picked a fight here. Charlie Kirk is viciously going to go after Taylor Swift. Watch this.
I don't like Taylor Swift at all. And
most guys don't. Well, isn't that the real topic, right?
But that's kind of the real topic, and I feel as if she's being forced to.
By the way, I just want to point something out that all of the people who do videos like Kyle Kalinske, they always put their face in the bottom right corner. Shake things up, guys. Bottom left. Shake it up. Bottom left.
Upon our culture, it's this Taylor Swift colonizing effort.
Taylor Swift colonizing effort. I got news for you. Of all the things that are forced on our culture, she is at the dead bottom of the list. She is organically loved. She's like the all-American girl, right?
She's organically loved. I find that when people say, "Oh, she's organic," they only say that things are organically loved when they don't mind it, and it's artificially pushed onto society when they don't like it. Right? So Taylor Swift is definitely not all organically loved. There are multi-million-dollar corporations behind her brand. People like her not just because of her music. Her music is kind of like B tier, guys. It's because there's a strong industry behind her. There's strong shows behind her. There's money to be made from her brand that gets pushed. It's not just organic. We're talking about a capitalist free market. Oh, bad takes, Kyle. Bad takes.
The all-American girl, great singer, great entertainer, been famous for a really long time. It's the least forced thing I've ever seen. You know what's more forced? TPUSA, the organization that Charlie Kirk runs, which is funded by billionaires. And
Taylor Swift is not funded by billionaires? Charlie? Oh my God, I just called him Charlie Kirk. But yes. What's his name? Secular Talk. Kyle Kalinske. Taylor Swift is funded by billionaires. Taylor Swift is funded by billionaires, guys. TPUSA is funded by billionaires, right? What is propaganda for the government is marketing for the private sector. Don't forget that. So
forced on people to pretend young people are actually turning really, really conservative, bro. They're turning really conservative, bro. I'm not funded to say this, bro.
Not a Taylor Swift fan. She's a narcissist. I don't think that she's very talented.
What is it with right-wingers calling people narcissists? Why is that always a thing they keep doing? I blame Jordan Peterson. I fucking blame Jordan.
She's ugly.
Who's more talented, Charlie Kirk or Taylor Swift? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case.
Sir, nobody likes her. She looks like a teenage boy. Dudes don't like her. No. If you put her in front of she's ugly.
That's true. Yeah. Does Taylor Swift have any eggs left?
This dude.
What am I listening to? Who's more talented, Taylor Swift or Charlie Kirk? Does Taylor Swift have any eggs left? Is Taylor Swift attractive? I mean, Taylor Swift is not ugly. I'm pretty sure that most men will find Taylor Swift attractive. I can't imagine that not to be the case. Right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure most men would find this attractive. Right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Does she have any eggs left? These guys, man, these people.
Who looks like a fat cop with a donut from a 1982 buddy comedy cop movie is saying Taylor Swift is ugly. Homie, you look like you just rolled out of a ditch. You look like you wake up and pound 4 Miller Lights in the morning.
Yeah, he does look like that.
You look like you smoke Marlboro Reds.
This is true.
You talking about Taylor Swift and how she's unattractive? Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
I don't think she's ugly. I don't know if she had to start with.
No, you mean bitter, angry women, and that's Taylor Swift.
Librarian,
we're going right back to
you had, feminine,
bitter.
We're going right back to Fresh and Fit. Does she have eggs? Is she a high value woman? We're going right back full circle to the beginning of the stupidity of this video.
Angry women. Bitter, angry women is the accusation from the world's most obvious bitter, angry men.
That's Taylor Swift feminism. If I got dragged to one Taylor Swift concert, I will never go back. I was in the very back. It was awful. It was all women and gays.
It was awful because it was all women and gays. And gay, don't forget that.
That was it.
That was awful.
And
I mean, can I be honest about this guy? I want to zoom in more on him because whatever he has on the back of his neck, I honestly believe like he's a paraplegic in like a chair, and he's like what is this behind his ear? Like what is that? What is that?
Swift concert, I will never go back. I was in the very back. It was awful. It was all women and gays. That was it. And I was like, I want to be dead right now.
Because most of her fans are miserable.
They're all
She's
grew up in the emo era.
Unhappy person
people
because she knows that her
unhappy
body
music.
count is what it is. Her body count will have a museum and galleria dedicated to it.
Wow, these guys are just absolute like assholes. These guys are just assholes.
Her body. How do you know how many people she's had sex with? What are you talking about?
End of her career.
I would take Free Britney, Crazy Free Britney, over Liar Taylor Swift.
No, you would not. No, you would not. You would not go Crazy Free Britney over. No, you will not. You will not go bold. You would not. No, nobody. Let's be clear. Nobody wants to go bold Britney than Taylor Swift. Like if you had a choice between these two women, you're not going. I have serious issues that need to be taken care of. It's not my fault. These guys just talking shit. They're just literally just talking shit at this point.
Swift, who sets up her whole life where she's not like a real person and she's leading an army of women over a cliff against all of us.
I totally understand her. She understands me. I love Taylor Swift.
She
and her
does
music.
it. She makes money off of you.
She does make
probably hates you. She doesn't dress well at all. I mean,
all of this to me feels like projection. She doesn't like you. She just makes money off of you. Well, what are you guys doing to your fans? You're just making money off of them. Just be fucking real about what you're doing. You don't give a shit about your fans. You couldn't give a flying fuck about your fans. You just want to make money.
dresses like
Right?
super
Like you can just say that about anyone who makes money and has a fan base.
revealing. What?
You're Charlie Kirk. You're Charlie Kirk.
What is virtuous about her for young women to glean? Like date as many men as possible, complain all the time, ruin men's lives.
Complain all the time. I never hear Taylor Swift complaining about dick. Your whole show is built on complaining. This is supposed to be a political show. They went on a literal 22-minute rant about how Taylor Swift is ugly and destroying the country. You guys want other people complaining? Mistake, but that song is a banger. Bill O'Reilly, stop giving exists with the guy with censoring. I'm not authoritarian. I'm for the.
Yeah, I'm not gonna keep watching this guy talk about this Taylor Swift thing. That was awful. That was awful. Okay, let's just go. Let's just see what regular YouTube recommends. Let's see. Oh, Hassan talking about the idea of mistaking killed three hostages who were trying to escape. Should we do like a how many times is Hamas borderline anti-Semitic in this video? Should we do that? That might be fun. Oh, we have Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. Guys, if you did not watch that fight, what an epic fucking fight. Round 3 was probably one of Edwards' best performances. He was in flow. He was just short of finishing him, but that fight was phenomenal. What a great, overall, really great UFC card. If you're into that shit, like really, really, really good card. How could you say that was the worst fucking fight? That was an actual fight, a real technical fight, real good fight. Colby is a scumbag, but I think it was a great fight. It was really technical. Edwards, I mean, was it a horrible fight? What do you mean? Because there wasn't a lot of blood and punches being thrown? It was a great fight. It was extremely technical. I mean, you're watching a fight for the wrong reasons then, man. You're watching a chess game. And because pieces aren't being eaten on the board, it's a bad chess game. This was an actual fight. It was a true fight. Colby, as much as we don't like him, no, what do you mean? At 185, you're always in danger. I don't know what you're talking about. I disagree 100%. Yeah, he did. He got tired by round 4, which is why Colby was able to take him down and control him during those rounds. I don't know what you're talking about. That was a very good. If you enjoy actual combat, if you enjoy thinking and strategy, that was a good fight. Absolutely. Couldn't disagree more. It wasn't a masterclass by Edwards, because during round 1, they were figuring each other out. Round 2, round 3, he couldn't finish him. Yeah, fans can boo. I don't give a fuck. These are rednecks who are drinking beer most of the time. Like, Leon, he should have finished in round 3, and he couldn't, because Colby's defense in cardio is up there, and Colby started putting the pressure. Truthfully, if there was a round 6 and a round 7, do we really think that Edwards was going to actually win that fight? I don't know. I mean, the game is 5 rounds, but I don't know. Colby is a dangerous guy. He's a scumbag, but he's a dangerous guy. He knows how to fight. Yeah, BP is right. That fight was absolutely art. There's no other way to say except that fight was absolutely art. Well, Leon went to the ground with him to cancel out his takedown points, right? He was strategizing too. It was a smart move for him to he wasn't bored. He was trying to neutralize the points he got from that takedown, secure the victory for the round. Again, it was strategy. It was straight up fucking strategy. I mean, Colby had a bad game plan, correct. And Leon couldn't finish him, but it was still a good fight. Let's see if we can find another video to look at. What else do we got here? Yeah, you take me down now, bitch. Watch this. Exactly what it was. Casuals? Did I just get called a casual MMA fan? What an insult. What an ignorant insult, mindfulness. I'm a casual. I'm a casual viewer of MMA. I know nothing. I don't even understand the sport, guys. I know nothing about the sport. No, he just could. He was getting gassed by the third. He lost his spark. You saw it in his eyes. Yeah, he lost stamina by the third. Oh, Rudy Rockman. This is Scott's guy. Yeah, I don't know if I can watch any more videos. It is 10:30. But I had an awesome time in the chat. Maybe we should do like a UFC live stream at some point if people actually want to watch UFC. Colby Covington is a good counter fighter. He looks for opportunities to do takedown, impose his will. He pushes you up against the fence. Leon had to actually really break him down mentally, change his patterns, his rhythms to get through his attack. This is why round 1 and kind of the beginning of round 2 seemed very well, pressure and volume cardio can only happen once you can get in, right? So you have to be able to read your opponent to know when to come in and break that gap and put on pressure. That's not an idiot way to fight. Damn, like an idiot? Just knowing what your tool belt is. Well, anyhow, guys, I've had a great night. Thank you all for joining the stream. If you like the stream, press that like button. That helps me a ton. Share if you think anyone wants to watch this. And as always, stay thinking. Scott, thank you for the tip. I really appreciate it. And as always, stay thinking and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. A warm welcome to all of you here this evening, both those here in the theater in Toronto and those following online. You know, it's not very often that you see a country's largest theater packed for an intellectual debate, but that's what we're all here for tonight. Please join me. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Slavoj Žižek and Dr. Jordan Peterson. Just a few words of introduction. There can be few things, I think, now more urgent and necessary in an age of reactionary partisan allegiance and degraded civil discourse than real thinking about hard questions. The very premise of tonight's event is that we all participate in the life of thought, not merely opinion or prejudice, but the realm of truth, accessed through evidence and argument. But these two towering figures of different disciplines and domains share more than a commitment to thinking itself. They are both highly attuned to ideology and the mechanisms of power, and yet they are not principally political thinkers. They are both concerned with more fundamental matters: meaning, truth, freedom. So it seems to me likely we will see tonight not only deep differences, but also surprising